The most popular misconception for feminism is about proving a point that you are equal to a man. It's about showing that you don't need a man.
People associate feminism with rebellion and resistance.
People think feminism is hating men. I do have a strong presence mostly. I tend to have this strength that just comes naturally. And in spaces where there are a lot of men, it tends to be a clash because men feel I am trying to take over.
Feminism is not about my view is better than yours. It's about accommodating each other. It's about having accommodating views.
Feminism is just ensuring that women are treated as equals. I've been in spaces where answers, to even problems or any decision that wants to be taken is deferred to a man, whether my spouse, whether my colleague, and it's been infuriating.
What does feminism mean for me? It's liberating women, allowing women to also succeed while supporting them to succeed.
Feminism for me means the ability to breathe, the ability to step fully into love, dangerous, courageous, troublesome love. It's the opportunity to demonstrate that there's a different way of being, a different way of living, a different way of seeing that is centered around dignity.
For the past 5 days, from the 10th to the 14th of July, we had been having our African Feminist Academy for Climate Justice. This is very critical because this was taking place alongside the Maputo A20, where women across the continent, including their governments and even the private sector, were having reflections on what have we achieved since the inception of the Maputo Protocol, which is actually the African Gender Protocol.
Oxfam and Femnet are in the same consortium together, African Activists for Climate Justice, and we are working very closely together around developing feminist influencing resources to be able to campaign for climate justice. We are investing quite a bit in dismantling systems of patriarchy and power, and doing that in slow and steady ways with communities, and that communities can step into their own agency and power with us alongside them. And so we've developed a feminist influencing basket of resources, and that feminist influencing basket journeys through issues and systems of power and dismantling that, and then it journeys through radical healing and well-being, and then it journeys through transformative narratives in our organizing.
The link between women and the climate crisis, firstly, women are caregivers, we are carers, not because we were made like that, but how the system is designed, looking at the cultural system, the political system, the social system itself. It has actually confined the care work to be a women's space, and women care for their families, for their communities, they care for the environment. And for Africa, this is very critical because African women's lives are very much tied to the land as food producers, as people who are working throughout the whole food value chain. And therefore, when we bring in feminism into the climate discussion, we're actually saying that we cannot realize gender equality if we do not have climate justice for the African women. African women have faced a lot. And one of the things that they have never been afforded is healing justice. And healing justice coming from the generational trauma that we faced because of colonialism, because of apartheid, because of a system that is patriarchal, because of a system that is racist, that is sexist, that is classicist, because of a lot of other structural injustices that we have faced as African women. we're very excited because we're bringing in the most critical issue that has to be discussed in Africa, the climate change, which is indeed a crisis of our time. And so we brought together women from across the continent, all sub-regions being represented, seeing how countries such as Somalia, countries such as Kenya are actually facing desertification as a result of climate change. And so the bringing together of women to start a conversation around what can we do and how do we organize around this crisis, and what are our demands to our leaders, to the global community when it comes to issues of loss and damage, issues of adaptation. How do we build our resilience in the midst of this crisis, which is taking place in the midst of other crises?
As a result of climate change, we're facing cyclones, we're facing, droughts. All of this is happening in the context of Zimbabwe at the same time. We've got droughts. We're not sure now with our seasons whether we're going to get rain this year or not. And so that insecurity again affects us.
Climate crisis has become so severe in Nigeria that we are now having what we call yearly flooding. When it floods, their means of livelihood is being destroyed. They are now being moved from their original home to a strange home that they are trying to manage, that they are trying to cope with. So flooding in Nigeria is really causing community women a lot. It costs them their lives, it costs them their livelihood, it costs them their health, and it costs them finance. It has come to the extent that some young women now go into what they're supposed not to. They now go for sex and just to get money from men. They now depend on maybe a relative that they're supposed not to depend on, and they will be taken advantage of, especially the young girls.
In Turkana North, you'll understand that there's no water in Turkana North. And if there's no water, that means they can't be able to do farming, they can't be able to do livestock production because there's no water. So it means these women cannot do anything. So they have to travel for long distances to get water for their basic needs. While they travel to look for water, at times they are hurt, at times they are raped, at times they fall sick. And some of these women, even when they are in their monthly periods, they don't even have water to wash their bodies.
The hearts are for everyone. I just wanted to say we need to share more love.
One of the stories that has really been, impactful was this 32-year-old woman. She has 4 children, and the flooding came and they had to leave their homes and move into a neighbor's home. Her husband didn't go with them. I'm not sure where he went off, but he wasn't in the picture. It was a neighboring village. Eventually, she didn't want to harbor the woman anymore. So she said there were too many. So there were 4, she and her 3 children. And she split the children. She had to have one with her and then had to find somebody else to send 3 to. That was really, really sad because she still wanted them to go to school. So she would wake up in the morning, go to the next village, go take them to school all the way in another village and come back to be with this last one. And if we were deliberate about climate justice and just ensuring that gender needs are met and addressed, school, whether it's education in emergency settings or something, there would be a conversation around just ensuring continuity for education for that village, because that the students are displaced. Did anybody care where they're going to end up?
Kwa mimi ama kwa wale wanawake ambao wako katika mashinani, ukisema neno la climate justice, ile kitu ambayo inakuja kwa akili yao ni mvua imechelewa, ama mvua imenyesha mingi, ama watu wameangukiwa na mawe. For example, kama Mathare kulikuwa na landslide, mawe ikaangukia watu na watu wengi sana wakakufa. serikali ilitupatia wakati mgumu kwa sababu hawakurespond on time. Tukapoteza maisha ya watu wengi sana. Wamama na watoto walihangaika, hawakuwa na mahali pa kuenda. Watu wengi wamerudi mali walikuwa, na ni kwa sababu wanakosa mahali pa kuenda, sio kwa kupenda kwao, but government haijawapatia any other option. Mito ambazo zimeflood na zikabeba nyumba za watu na pia watu wakakufa. Watu wengi wanalala njaa na pia mapato imekuwa ya chini kwa sababu kazi mingi zimefungwa. For example, kama hakuna maji na mimi ni mama wa kufua nguo, hakuna vile nitaenda kufua nguo.
We live in societies and communities where we're sitting with and holding in our bodies trauma, but it's not just the trauma that I experience that I'm holding. It's the trauma from my forefathers, my ancestors, and the intergenerational trauma that I'm having to heal from. And I bring all of that into my life, into my body, and into my organizing. And it begins to cloud your judgment when you don't have outlets for that. And that's why we've brought women together to, first of all, connect with one another, to make sense of why we're in a climate crisis, to make sense of what it means to understand whatever's happening to women and communities in the context of systems of oppression and systems of power over communities and women and their bodies and the choices that they make. All of the participants and the women in the room this week come from particularly precarious communities and organizations where they're campaigning really, really hard for climate justice and for social justice. And it was really important for us to create the space this week for them to be in wellness, to be in care, and to be in radical spaces of healing, and to make sure that women are able to go back home completely powered up, you know, to take care of themselves on a day-to-day basis.
Climate justice becomes social justice, it becomes gender justice, it becomes public health, it becomes everything, yes. So in this context for Ghana, we are having health issues, we are having flooding where people are being displaced. So it becomes a sustainability issue. Identifying the main things to address with the climate change, knowing that, oh, flooding is happening in these areas, what can I do for them? I want to give an example. At the Braka, it's a place in urban Accra, right, that has been flooding since 1987. And in 2015, there was a major flood that caused a filling station in that area, right, to burn up. It caused a lot of deaths. I lost 2 friends, and until now, it's still flooding, right? The filling station has just been replaced. Nothing was really done to fix what happened to the people in the community. And every time there's a drizzle, just a drizzle, people die. So if it should rain really heavily, there's going to be a loud outcry in the community. And yes, there are organizations that have come up to help with it, but they can't do so much if they don't have funding for it. Justice here will be that, oh, I have identified this organization, this is what this person does, and I am sending the fund directly to this person to give to the community, to help the community.
The work that we've been doing with AACJ is telling the stories, because we're not talking about the impact enough. Do you actually think about the individual? Do you think about how their life has changed? So we're really focusing on telling those stories so that we're able to show that these are real people, you know, with real impacts. And we want people to care, because we know that when we pull at the heartstrings and make sure people care, it would make them take action. You know, you don't have to struggle so hard for people to take action, but really that's what we're doing, because enough stories are not being told about the impacts. It's all just statistics. And also within the communities, we've been giving them the voice. We've been also creating opportunity and helping them get into spaces where they can demand for their rights. They're now asking questions. They're asking, okay, what plans do you have for us? The floods are coming. You know, that's something we're proud of, because really it just felt like everybody was just waiting. And when it happens, oh, I pray it doesn't happen. And if it does happen, then okay, the governments, you know, bring food, and take us somewhere safe. But now they're asking questions.
I'm a woman. I'm proud to be one, because without a woman, a world cannot be a better place.
As a Ghanaian youth, as a young person, we've come far. We've incorporated climate change into our syllabuses. We've put it into our conversations. We've made sure you choke down on climate change. If you know nothing at all, this is climate change. This is what climate change is. And we are doing quite a lot. I remember in COP last year, there were quite a lot of Ghanaian young people presenting and talking about everything they've done. And I know World Bank holds forums for us where we are discussing advanced ways of helping with the SDGs, specifically SDG 13, to mitigate and adapt. We are working with locals mostly. Currently, the issue is getting flooded people to safe places. And aside getting them to safe places, it's relocation issues. So funding coming to these people is mostly going to look at how to get the person a new form of accommodation, a new way of life that is not so different from their previous life. Maybe it's a farmer. The farmer has his farm flooded. We are trying to see how we can relocate the farmer. And this is being done by young people, not the government. So young people have set up their own organizations and they are going into these rural places where these issues are happening and they are looking at how to help the farmer. So if I pick a farmer from a town, I know I'm working with this farmer, I'm sending his issue to a forum, I'm presenting it, I'm asking for solutions for him.
Aljaber alikuwa Kenya. Alikuwa amekuja kupatana na rais. He wants to go and negotiate for us. Does he really feel the pain that we are going through? Does he really know the kind of trauma that we are going through? Will he really present our issues? So mimi pangu, hiyo trauma haiwezi nitoka cause na feel justice haijaonekana kwa wale watu walipata hiyo nini ya landslide. Manyumba zilibomolewa. Kuna mtu mwenye alikuja akachukua hao watu akawaambia msikae hapa, nendeni mali fulani tumewatengea mali pazuri mpate kuishi hapo. So hii ni trauma yenyewe until solution ipatikane haiwezi nitoka.
I saw the kids playing along the water. It's breaking my heart. And there's so much rubbish around and I'm just wondering, they should send the money here. That government does not need the money. You don't have to explain it. The government should sit down and let the community people do their issues.
The CBOs, the NGOs in Kenya have a lot to do to make sure that they have come to this community. At least start with them capacity building to build their capacity, Fred. Then they will now empower them knowledge-wise so that they will understand what we mean by climate change.
Hii event imenipatia connectivity, imenipatia kufeel at least kuna watu wengine wenye wana feel ile pain yenye mimi niko nayo.
There is no climate justice without climate finance. As we are heading to COP28, I have to say we should not leave out the indigenous communities to come and share with other people on how to use indigenous knowledge on conserving and protecting the environment.
This has been a healing therapy. I'm beginning afresh and I'm happy. I feel fulfilled. I feel empowered.
For me, living this place, I am more cognizant of the fact that my idea of feminism is not someone else's idea of feminism. So for me, it's a lesson to be more open, to be more diverse, to understand people's experiences, and to know one woman being oppressed is the same as all of us being oppressed. So it's about having an open mindset. That's the only way in which we can bring real transformation for me, but also for all other women.
So this space has been for me healing personally because I've let go of all the noise that surrounds me and I'm living here with a lot of peace and clarity of mind, and that really counts.
This year has been traumatic because I lost my best friend on Val's Day and I lost my grandmom. She has been my strongest support system the same day. So I've been in a very quiet place for a while, very numb place. And last 3 days, I've felt her loss and at the same time, I felt closure. I felt like, oh, She's still with me in the conversations we've had. So it's giving me closure, it's giving me love. I've been very happy here for the last 3 days, yeah.
So I think it was refreshing, it was a time of learning. I also like that we got to relax, you know, and just go into ourselves, because you can give what you don't have.
My key takeaway message from this event is love and self-love and self-care for myself. And
everybody has a story. Everybody's coming from some place, maybe where they had to be strong to get through. And this event, I think it brought out vulnerability in all of us, and it helped us see that the injustices in the systems, they needed to change. And it was refreshing to see like-minded people that also recognize that these things needed to change. And what's our place there? What can we do to change this?